What happens when a narcissist cannot destroy you? Have you ever stood up to a narcissist not with anger, not with revenge, but with quiet strength and watched them struggle to break you? You didn't fall for their manipulation. You didn't give in to their games. You didn't react the way they wanted. And that terrified them. Because one of the most dangerous things you can do to a narcissist is refuse to be destroyed by them. Most people in a narcissist's life either crumble under pressure or stay confused long enough for the narcissist to regain control. But what happens when someone doesn't play along, when someone sees through the mask, walks away, and still thrives? What happens when a narcissist simply cannot destroy you? Today, we're going to explore the psychological breakdown of what occurs when a narcissist fails to break someone emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, and why that failure haunts them far more than they'll ever admit. If you've ever wondered why some narcissists keep circling back to certain people, or why they seem obsessed with those who don't react the way they expect, this video will reveal exactly what goes on inside their mind. Because when a narcissist can't destroy you, they begin to fear you. Let's start by understanding a core truth. Narcissists operate from a place of emotional fragility disguised as strength. They build their world around dominance, control, and influence over others. Their sense of power depends on how much they can manipulate, confuse, or emotionally destabilize the people around them. When they meet resistance, especially from someone who refuses to be broken, it disrupts everything they believe about themselves. Here's what happens psychologically when a narcissist cannot destroy you. They experience cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is a psychological term that describes the discomfort a person feels when faced with conflicting beliefs or behaviors. For a narcissist, one of their strongest beliefs is that they have control, that they can shape reality, that they can dominate any situation or relationship. But when they encounter someone who doesn't break, who doesn't collapse under pressure, who doesn't internalize the gaslighting, and who doesn't beg for closure, they experience this dissonance. Their belief says, I am powerful. I can destroy anyone. Reality says, no, you couldn't destroy them. That contradiction creates inner conflict. And for a narcissist, inner conflict is deeply unsettling. So they replay your memory. They wonder how you resisted. They try to understand what went wrong. And in doing so, they become fixated. Because you disrupted their worldview. 2. They begin to doubt themselves quietly. Narcissists rarely show self-doubt, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. In fact, beneath their bravado lies an ocean of insecurity. And when they fail to destroy someone, especially someone who once played a significant role in their life, it stirs that ocean. They question their own power, their tactics, their ability to maintain control. Of course, they won't admit this out loud. Instead, they tell themselves stories, ones where they were never really trying to hurt you, or where you were already damaged before they met you. But deep down, they know the truth. You weren't broken before, and now you still aren't, even after all their efforts. And that shakes them more than they'll ever let on. 3. They fear that you know too much about them. One of the most terrifying things for a narcissist is exposure. Beneath the charming smile, the grand gestures, and the confidence lies a deeply insecure person, afraid of being seen as flawed, ordinary, or unworthy. And if you made it through their manipulation without breaking, if you saw through their tactics and walked away on your own terms, then you represent something they can't easily erase. You saw them. Not just their performance, not just their charm, but the real person behind the mask. And now, you're free. That's a reminder no narcissist can fully escape. Because you carry knowledge they can't undo, memories they can't rewrite, truths they can't unshare. And that makes you unforgettable. 4. They lose their narrative. Narcissists are storytellers not of fiction, but of self-preservation. They constantly rewrite history to paint themselves as victims, heroes, or misunderstood geniuses, whatever serves their ego best. But you don't fit neatly into their narrative. Because you didn't cry, you didn't beg, you didn't chase them. You left calmly, confidently, and permanently. And that throws off their entire story. They can't say they broke you. They can't claim you were unstable. They can't tell others you needed them, because none of it matches the version of reality they want to sell. So they keep thinking about you. They replay moments. They imagine ways they could have done better. Because until they can twist the ending to make themselves look like the victor, they feel incomplete. 5. They miss the emotional fuel you gave them. At the heart of every narcissistic relationship is narcissistic supply. The attention, admiration, validation, and emotional energy they extract from others to prop up their unstable sense of self-worth. You were once a source of that supply. Whether through praise, arguments, or simply your emotional investment, you gave them what they needed to feel powerful and important. When you stopped giving that fuel, especially without drama or desperation, they lost something they hadn't anticipated losing, a unique kind of stimulation, a mirror that challenged them, a dynamic that kept them emotionally engaged. And now, without you, they search desperately for someone who can match what you gave them. But no one quite does, which means you linger even in your absence. 6. They can't handle defiance. Most people in a narcissist's life comply with their demands, tolerate their behavior, and accept their version of reality. But you were different. At some point you challenged them. You set boundaries. You stood up for yourself. And that defiance leaves a lasting impression. Because to a narcissist, defiance is rare. And when someone dares to resist them, it forces them to confront their own limitations, something they desperately avoid. They remember how you escaped their grip, how you stopped reacting the way they wanted, how you refused to play the game anymore, and that memory gnaws at them. Because in their world, being out of control is unacceptable. And you remind them of that failure every time your name crosses their mind. 7. They begin idealizing you even if they won't ever say it out loud. One of the strangest paradoxes of narcissism is that they often idealize people after they've lost them. When you stop talking to them, they start remembering only the good parts, the times you gave them attention, validation, emotional energy. Suddenly, you become the one who got away, the person who was different, the one who knew them better than anyone else. Of course, they won't say this out loud, but inside, they begin to rewrite history, painting you as someone special, someone irreplaceable, someone who mattered more than they ever let on. Not because they loved you, but because you represented something they struggled to replace: familiarity, emotional stimulation, and a mirror to their hidden truths. 8. They obsess over what went wrong. When a narcissist cannot destroy you, when they realize that all their tactics fail to pull you back into chaos, they enter a state of obsession. They replay conversations. They analyze your words. They wonder how you managed to walk away and stay gone. They may even check your social media, ask mutual friends about you, or drop subtle hints hoping you'll respond. Why? Because they need to understand how they lost control. Because they need to find the moment they miscalculated. Because they need to know what made you different. And until they get answers, you remain in their thoughts, not as someone they miss, but as someone who defeated them. 9. They try to reclaim power through indifference. When they can't destroy you and can't reclaim control, narcissists often resort to indifference as a defense mechanism. They act like you never mattered, like they never cared, like you were nothing. But this isn't confidence. It's damage control. Because if they can convince themselves and others that you were replaceable, they can pretend they were never threatened by you. Of course, this facade rarely holds. Because they still think about you. They still compare new people to you. They still imagine ways they could have handled things differently. And that lingering thought proves one thing: they couldn't destroy you. And now, they're haunted by it. 10. They become trapped in their own failure. Narcissists hate failure. They hate the idea of losing, of being outsmarted, of being abandoned. And when someone like you walks away, someone who saw through them, stood up to them, and refused to be controlled, it becomes a wound that never heals. They become trapped in the memory of their failure. They replay the moments you resisted them. They imagine alternate endings. They try to rewrite history. But no matter how hard they try, the truth remains. You survived them. You grew stronger. You chose peace over chaos. And that makes you a constant reminder of their inability to win, not in the way they expected, but in the way that truly matters. 11. They search for new sources of supply, but you still linger. Eventually, most narcissists move on, at least outwardly. They latch onto new relationships, new conflicts, new sources of emotional stimulation. But even as they shift focus, you remain somewhere in the background, a lingering presence in their thoughts, especially during moments of insecurity or failure. That's because you understood their games. You reacted until you didn't, and that makes you unforgettable. Because while they may have found new people to manipulate, none of them quite match the rhythm they had with you. None of them challenge them the same way. None of them leave them feeling as shaken. And that's why they can't forget you. 12. They realize you broke the cycle. Perhaps the most painful realization for a narcissist is knowing that you've moved on and that you're thriving without them. They want to believe that you're still stuck in the past, that you're still hurting, that you're still longing for them, because that would mean they still have power over you. But if you've truly healed, if you've built a life that no longer revolves around them, it shakes their entire worldview, because it proves that they weren't as irreplaceable as they believed, that you didn't need them to be happy, that you found peace without them. And that's something they can't easily accept. So they think about you not because they want you back, but because they want to prove that you still need them, that you're still affected by them, that you haven't completely moved on. And until they get that confirmation, they won't stop obsessing over your absence. 13. Social media keeps you fresh in their minds. Even if you've cut contact completely, chances are the narcissist has found ways to keep tabs on you. Maybe they follow you under a fake account. Maybe they ask mutual friends about you. Or maybe they just check your profile occasionally, scrolling through your life from a distance. Every post, every photo, every update triggers something in them: envy, confusion, anger, regret. And because they're incapable of letting go, these digital breadcrumbs keep you fresh in their minds, even years after you disappeared from their life. It becomes a cycle. They check your page, they feel triggered, they imagine scenarios where they reinsert themselves into your life, they obsess over what you're doing. It's like emotional junk food, bad for them, but impossible to resist. 14. They can't rewrite history without you. Narcissists rewrite history constantly. They tell themselves stories that paint them as victims, heroes, or misunderstood geniuses, whatever serves their ego best. But no matter how much they try to twist the truth, you were part of their story. Moments when you stood up to them. Times when you exposed their flaws. Instances when you chose yourself over them. These memories disrupt their fantasy. They don't align with the version of reality they've created. And because of that, they can't fully erase you from their minds. They might tell themselves you were nothing, that you were replaceable, that they never cared. But deep down, they know better, and that's why they can't forget you. 15. They begin to resent you because you represent what they can't control. Resentment is a common emotion for narcissists, especially when they lose control. And when you refuse to be destroyed by them, resentment builds. They resent your independence. They resent your clarity. They resent the peace you found without them. Because in their world, people are supposed to break under pressure. People are supposed to bend to their will. But you didn't. And that makes you dangerous. Because you proved that their power wasn't absolute. You proved that their manipulation doesn't work on everyone. And worst of all, you showed others what's possible. 16. They begin to fear you. Yes, narcissists can fear people. Not in the way most people fear others, not with respect or concern, but with frustration, with confusion, with a strange kind of awe. Because you did what few do. You saw through them. You walked away, and you stayed gone. And that makes you unpredictable. It makes you untouchable. And it makes you unforgettable. 17. They carry unfinished business. Narcissists don't handle unfinished business well. They need resolution. They need to feel like they've won, that they've maintained dominance, that they've closed the chapter on their terms. But when you refuse to be destroyed, when you heal, grow, and disappear, they're left with something they hate most: unanswered questions, unresolved tension, unfinished manipulation. And that uncertainty lingers in their mind like a ghost they can't exorcise, because they never truly finished what they started. And now, they never will. 18. They lose a part of their identity. Narcissists define themselves by how others see them, especially those closest to them. They need admiration, attention, and emotional engagement to feel whole. But when you walk away, when you stop feeding their ego, you take a piece of their identity with you. They no longer have someone reflecting their image back to them. No one absorbing their chaos. No one validating their false sense of superiority. And without that reflection, they begin to feel hollow. Because the narcissist identity isn't built from within. It's built from the outside in. And when you stop mirroring them, they begin to unravel. 19. They watch you heal and it hurts them deeply. Perhaps the most painful thing for a narcissist is seeing you thrive without them. While they continue circling the same patterns, searching for new sources of supply, repeating the same destructive behaviors, you are becoming stronger, wiser, and more grounded. This contrast is unbearable for them, because it proves that they weren't necessary to your happiness, that you were better off without them. And that's a blow no amount of grandiosity can cushion, because deep down, they know the truth. You were the one who saw through them, and still walked away with your dignity intact. 20. They can't destroy your peace, and that terrifies them. The final reason narcissists struggle when they can't destroy you is because your peace becomes a symbol of their defeat. They tried everything. Every trick, every manipulation, every attempt to confuse, guilt trip, or isolate you. And still, you remained calm. Still, you healed. Still, you moved on. And that terrifies them. Because if you can survive them, if you can rise above them, then others can too. And that means their mask isn't as impenetrable as they thought. It means their power isn't as absolute as they told themselves. And it means their destruction isn't guaranteed. So here's the truth. When a narcissist cannot destroy you, when you refuse to be manipulated, when you choose peace over pain, when you walk away and stay gone, you change their world forever. You strip them of their power. You expose their weaknesses. You remind them that not everyone breaks under pressure, and that changes everything. Because now, they carry unresolved emotions about you, not because they loved you, but because you represented something they can't easily replace. You were a source of control they lost, a mirror to their hidden truths, a symbol of the one person who got away. Their inability to forget you has nothing to do with affection. It's about ego, territory, unfinished business. But none of it reflects your worth. None of it means you should go back. None of it changes the fact that you made the right choice, walking away. What it does mean is that you had more impact on them than they'd ever admit, and that's empowering. And while they may still think about you, you no longer have to think about them. Because the moment you stopped giving them your energy, your attention, your time, your emotional space, you reclaimed your power. And that's something no narcissist can ever truly forget. Thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, healing isn't about forgetting the past. It's about refusing to let it define your future. Stay strong, stay wise, and most importantly, stay free.